Hey, welcome to the RobCast podcast. I'm Dr. Robert Benson. This is where conversations are grounded in truth. Today, I'm exploring real estate. Real estate is probably the most important purchase that you'll make in your life. It's a decision, a life decision, where you're going to stay and those kind of things there. The most interesting thing about real estate, though, is that it's really local and specific to the area that you're in. Today, I have someone that's going to talk to me about real estate in Pennsylvania, right outside the busy metropolis of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So I'm going to say hello to Miss Desarrie McDuffie, a real estate extraordinaire in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. How are you today, Desiree?
I'm doing well, Dr. Benson. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining us on the RobCast podcast. So talk to us about your real estate acumen and what you know and how you became the person you are in this very, very lucrative industry.
Oh wow. How I became the person I am. It's been a an interesting journey. I've come from a family of real estate investors, and so I had that foundation there. But to tie the two together, I worked as a social worker for about 10 years, and in my journey in social services,
Mhm.
I realized that the families that we were servicing were not homeowners. The homeownership was never a goal for them. I've always been taught to own. I've never rented a house.
Wow.
And I understood that most of my family have never like rented. Most of my family has owned real estate. We still have in our family the real estate owned by my great grandparents. So on my mother's side, at least. So I understood the importance of building wealth through real estate. I understood the importance of owning real estate and creating stability within your family
Mhm.
and in your community. And I've noticed that that was something that was missing from the families that we were servicing.
Hmm. You know,
So,
I was going
mhm,
to say the interesting thing about Philadelphia is I'm from Chester, okay? And that's the row
okay.
house thing. I just never like sharing walls with people in different buildings. I just wanted to interject that and let you finish your story. I'm sorry.
No, no, that's fine. I mean, listen, I get it. I get it. I mean, I live in a row house myself
Okay,
now,
okay.
and it isn't bad. I to be honest with you, I actually enjoy the closeness of neighbors. Like I enjoy walking out and seeing my neighbor right, like literally right across the street. Hey, good morning, Tasha.
Hmm.
As long as you have good neighbors, it works. I have a neighbor that moved in not too long ago, and he's not so nice. so he's right next door. So we
Yeah,
had to have some conversations,
yeah.
about some things. But yes, I get it. But city living is definitely something that you have to either have an acquired taste for. It's either you like it or you love or you don't like it. Either you like it or you hate it,
Mm.
basically. And right now I like it, but I can see as I get older, how I desire, more of a suburban life, some more land. Like I have a garden in my yard now that I have, but I think I want to expand on that. So I need some land to
All
be able
right.
to do that.
Well, it's interesting you
Yes.
mentioned that, and there's idiosyncrasies, as I said before, with locality as far as real estate is concerned. The thing I want to ask you
Hmm.
about is this: is what are some of the idiosyncrasies in Philadelphia, and can you explain the difference between a buyer's and a seller's market in real estate, as it were?
Well, just like anything else, supply and demand, right? So a buyer's market is pretty much when there's a lot of inventory, a lot of homes on the market, and sellers are now competing for your business, for you to purchase their properties. So that puts the buyer in a stronger position so that they can now negotiate, right? They're able to get better deals on homes, maybe more, repairs made on the property, those type of things, in a buyer's market. A seller's market is the complete opposite when there's less inventory and you have more buyers competing for the same properties. So then you're in a position where maybe you're not able to negotiate as much, right? as
Mhm.
far as price or repairs, other contingencies that in a buyer's market you'll be able to work certain things out, maybe get the seller to purchase a home warranty for you or something like that. In the seller's market, maybe not so much. The ball is in their court. So it is important to understand the market that you're in when you're looking to buy, but
Mhm.
there are ups and downs of both markets, right? So for instance, like right now, at least in Philadelphia, we're in it's sort of like a mixed market depending on where you're buying.
Mhm.
Um, Philadelphia is very unique in that you still have a lot of people transplanting to Philadelphia in the Philadelphia area. So that makes our market fairly strong, where a lot of other markets may be seeing where, it isn't so much competition. In Philadelphia, there is still, some competition because you have people relocating from New York. You have people in DC that have come down to Philadelphia, and they're able to easily commute to DC or New York and then come back to Philadelphia and live.
Mhm.
So the market is very unique in that it doesn't change, but so much from a buyer's to a seller's market. You don't see the drastic changes. I'll put it to you like that.
Mhm.
However, in the suburbs, what we found in since COVID is that it's continuing to be a stronger seller's market
Mhm.
because for the point that you made, right, Dr. Benson, living in row houses, right?
Right.
COVID sort of made people uncomfortable with being close to one another,
It did. It did.
right? And Philadelphia is an old city, so you have a lot of row homes, very small, very tight. You have tight blocks. Some streets you can't even park on. You can't park a car easily on. You have to park on the sidewalk. Um, you don't have much outdoor space, so people begin to, with especially the people with families, they begin to relocate to the suburbs,
I see.
and that's
Mhm.
still happening. So the suburbs, the homes, well, like have clients now who are looking for the home with the pool and the single family, home, the 2-car garage, where they were in a row home here in Philadelphia, and they may even be at the same price point, right?
Right.
You can buy a $600,000 home in Philadelphia, and it's a row home, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, 3 stories up. You have a roof deck, and then you take that same $600,000 and you take it to the suburbs where you do get more of more of a footprint of a
Mhm.
house,
I
right? You
see.
get a larger house instead of maybe a 2,200 square foot house. You might be looking, it's not much of a difference, maybe 2,700 square feet, but you have the land,
Mhm.
you know. Um, so you have a lot of buyers looking to relocate to the suburbs now. And because of that, we're still running into multiple offer situations.
Okay.
It's very competitive there, whereas in Philadelphia, it's not as competitive.
Okay. Years ago, I used to work for the city of Philadelphia, and that was one of the reasons that kind of discouraged me from purchasing property up there, among some other things that we won't talk about during this show. But there has been an increase in building and creating new homes. Is that what's going on up in Philadelphia as well? Are we seeing a lot of building, or are we seeing just people pretty much cycling in and out of property right now? What's going on up there with that?
It's sort of a combination again. Um, Building, there isn't as much building as there was at some point before.
Mhm.
When they first introduced the tax abatement, there was a ton of building, right? And I'm talking over the course of maybe the last 20 years or so, right? There was a ton of building. There was a lot of opportunity for new construction and new builds then. But now with the tax abatement being sort of like phased away, there isn't as much building with
Tax
prices
abatement?
now
Tax
being
abatement?
tax
What
abatement,
what
10
is
year tax abatement.
and can you explain that a little bit? You know what I mean?
So that's basically where the builder or the owner of the property would not have to pay taxes on the improved land,
Okay.
meaning the building. They would just be paying taxes on the land, the real estate itself, the actual dirt, okay, the grounds. They would pay the taxes there, but not on the improvement. So that saved a lot of buyers. Saved the buyers a lot of money. On these new builds, you could only get the tax abatement on a new build.
Okay.
Or at least, I think it was like 85% new build. But now, they sort of like phased it out a little bit. They're phasing it out. So, it isn't as much of an incentive to buyers or builders right now to, take on the cost of building new homes. And plus, we do have land to do it on here in Philadelphia, but it just doesn't make financial sense sometimes, because even the land here in Philadelphia is becoming expensive. So when, like anything else, the numbers have to make sense, and right now the numbers are not making sense for a lot of investors or a lot of builders. There are a lot of affordable housing developments here in Philadelphia coming now, but they get the government subsidies to be able to do that, to make the numbers work. So, what we're finding is that people are not, like, for years, everyone wanted a lot in Philadelphia. Find me a lot. That's what I would get. Find me a lot. Find me a lot. Find me a lot so I can build a brand new house. Find me a lot. Yeah. Not so much now. You put a lot on the market and it sits. No one wants to take. Oh, and then it's some other issues like with L&I and, other issues that, are driving builders away from building in Philadelphia right now. But, it's more so right now, investors are now desiring and liking the existing building and doing just a rehab as opposed to a new build at this point. And buyers are liking it. For one, I'm just going to be honest, everyone sees how the new builds are being built now. So, I was having a conversation with a gentleman just yesterday, and he said he would never buy any of these. He's looking at these houses being put up, and he would never buy any of them. He wants an older, existing brick and mortar house, which is what I prefer as well. Yeah. Brick and mortar house. And, you just feel like you're buying something a little more sturdy, something that's going to last. Like I said, we still have my great grandparents' house in our family, old brick and mortar homes.
Sort of analogous to the brownstones in New York and those areas.
Yes, yeah. So similar. We don't have too many brownstones here in Philadelphia, but yes.
Okay. Well, one more question before we take a break and really get down into some other topics. You're licensed in Pennsylvania. Is that the only state you operate in, or?
It is. It is the only state that I personally operate in. I do partner with other agents in other cities, though. Like, for instance, I have, I've sent buyers to Delaware, but I'm still involved in the process because I'm partnering with another agent there.
All right, great. Well, Desarrie McDuffie, thank you so much. We get ready to take a quick break. This is the RobCast podcast, where conversations are grounded in truth. And former social worker can only be truthful with us. So, Desiree, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
At the Good Day Good Health Store, we believe wellness isn't one size fits all. It's about movement, nourishment, mindset, and showing up for your life. Shop with purpose. Invest in your health. Visit gooddayhealthstore.com and start your next good day today.
Making Money Make Sense by Bernadette Ruffin is the guide to mastering your money and building wealth. Learn the essentials, track your spending, manage your credit, secure your money, grow it while keeping it protected. Dreaming of home ownership? Eliminate debt and turn that dream into a reality now. Get Making Money. Make sense to learn how to grow your credit and money. Visit BernadetteRuffin.com to get the audiobook. Go now!
Hey, welcome back to the RobCast podcast. I'm Dr. Robert Benson, where this is where conversations are grounded in truth. I'm talking to seasoned real estate agent in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area. In prior shows, we've talked with agents who are from the southeastern part of the country. And the thing we're really finding out and getting confirmed from talking with both of them is that real estate is really idiosyncratic and is specific to location. So with that said, we're going to bring Ms. McDuffie back in and ask her a few questions along those lines. First, Ms. McDuffie, thank you for joining us again. But one of my biggest concerns is, and things that I'm seeing that's trending, if you will, are reverse mortgages. What are your thoughts on that? And is it something that you recommend at all? Where are you with that?
I am not a fan of reverse mortgages. I've seen people get themselves in trouble with reverse mortgages in the past. If a person is going to use a reverse mortgage for the purpose that it's truly intended for, then it makes sense. Meaning, if there's an elderly person who is on a fixed income and they're using the reverse mortgage to supplement their income, then it makes sense, right? To help pay their basic bills, to, maybe take a small vacation, nothing much, just a little bit. But in my experience, what I found is that reverse mortgages are not being used for that purpose. They're being used to buy son or daughter a car. They're being used to, go on lavish vacations. They're being used to so-called make repairs to the home, but then I go into the home and the repairs aren't made. So I think that there should be some checks and balances when it comes to people. And I know you can't control what people do with their money,
Right.
But especially when it comes to the elderly, who is, the target audience for a reverse mortgage, right? Our seniors. I find that they're talked out of their money. They're manipulated out of the money. And I've seen. I'll just give you a prime example. I had a elderly couple. This was maybe about 10 years or so ago now. But they took out a reverse mortgage on their home. They purchased their home in 1969. Single family home on the main line in Philadelphia. If anyone knows where that is, it's a pretty affluent community in the Philadelphia area, the main line. This is close to where Kobe Bryant was raised, okay? Just to put it into context. But they purchased this property in 1969. At that time, I'm pretty sure it was a beautiful single family home. When they were introduced to me about selling their home, and by the way, they purchased their home for less than $100,000 back in 1969. At the time that they were introduced to me to sell their home, they had this reverse mortgage over $300 and some odd thousand that they had taken out against this home. The home was in complete disrepair. They were living in this home. I mean, it was, just to let you know, like, I don't know I didn't ask them what they did with the money, but just to tell you how bad the home was. On the second floor, like, they still had the old fuse boxes there in the house.
Yes.
They had a fork in the fuse box.
Yikes.
Acting as a conductor, So it was very unsafe, a very unsafe situation. They were elderly, maybe 70 something years old at that time, maybe a little bit older. But long story short, they were in a position where they had maxed out the equity in their home. I guess no one expected them to live that long, and the bank wasn't giving them any more money in this reverse mortgage done. So now they were in a position where either the house was going to be foreclosed on, or the money had to be paid back.
I see.
They didn't have the money to pay it back.
Wow.
So I was hired to sell the home for them.
Okay.
But because the house was in such disrepair, we had to do a short sale.
Short
on
sale.
the property because the house at that point was not worth even what they had gotten back in the reverse mortgage.
Wow.
But it was just such a heartbreaking situation because they had lived in this house and raised their kids in this house since 1969.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what they did with the money, not sure where, whatever. But the wife ended up passing throughout this process.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, I believe, was due to heartbreak. Like she was losing the home that she raised her children in.
Yeah.
Had the reverse mortgage did not necessarily have to be the evil thing, in the story, but obviously the money was not used as it should have been used. Should have been. I'm not sure what they did with it, but they ended up losing the home.
Let me ask you this about that. Now, there's confusion for me anyway. Now, the reverse mortgage, is that a lump sum payment or is it a disbursement over time? Which one is it?
It could be both.
Okay.
It could be both.
Interesting.
You could get an initial lump sum payment, and then you're getting, payments every month. The thing is, they had gotten this reverse mortgage many, many years ago, so I'm not sure of all the details as to, how they got to that point, when I was pulled in to try to help them. But, like I said, it was well over 300, and I think it was close to like almost $400,000.
Wow, that's amazing.
They had taken against this home.
Well,
it was sad because now their children have lost this property, right? The family, and they were pastors at that. So, they were trying to do the right thing. They were, they thought they were doing the right thing, but unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way.
Like you were saying, though, it's about family wealth, and you can't do it. Well, let's shift gears a little bit now. We're talking about reverse mortgages. We're talking about people who are older on this end of the scale of age. Well, as people who are home buyers, they're at the other end of the scale, or first-time buyers. Is there an age you recommend that people should purchase a property by? Or if they don't, by this age, they should never purchase anything? What are your thoughts on that?
As early as you can, you should buy a house. As early as you have the understanding that bills need to be paid on time. Yeah. And you should buy a house. Mm-hmm. I always recommend to people, please buy as early as possible. Right. I purchased my house at 25, which some may say was young.
It is young,
but it was probably the best decision that I made. Wow. Because it helped me to be stronger financially. My home is paid off. I'm able to invest in other properties and other things that I want to do because I purchased a home at such a young age. And I encourage everyone that is in a position, buy a house now. And it doesn't have to be your dream house. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. My house was not my dream house. My dad wanted me to buy what would have been my dream house at 25 years old. Because he knew the rule, no, we're buying, that's it, right? He wanted me to buy what would have been my dream house at 25 years old. But I saw a vision for the neighborhood in which I bought the house in, the row home.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. I saw the vision. I saw the development happening in that neighborhood. I saw the gentrification coming in that neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And this is what I said to myself at that time. I said, well, if all of them are buying here and all of us are buying there, something's going on here. I need to buy here. Exactly. I need to buy here. Right? So that's what I did. And I was 25 and I had to fix this house up. I did. I had to get contractors and all these things at 25 years old and renovate this property. But it was totally worth it. It was the best decision I ever made. So I always encourage young people, don't worry about buying your dream home. You can step up to that. Yeah. Buy a home that will be, like sort of an investment property / your home right now, and buy a home in a neighborhood that is appreciating in value. Pay attention to what's going on, in your community. As far as when it's too old to buy a property, I don't think it's ever too old either.
Okay.
I sold a house to a couple. They were in their 60s, and it was a beautiful situation. Now they had gotten married in that home, and talk about the 60s again. They had gotten married in that home.
Well, be careful what you're talking about and who you're talking to is to my 60, okay?
I know, right? But they had bought their home. I mean, they had rented the home. They got married in the home. It was a home owned by another church, because I work with a lot of churches and blah, blah, blah. So anyway,
Okay.
it was a home owned by a church, the parsonage, as they call it, right? And they were renting this home, and they got married in, and the church decided they wanted to sell the home maybe 40 or so years later. They finally decide, we're going to sell this home. This family has been renting it for 40 something years. And it was the most beautiful thing that they were able to buy the home that they got married in. They showed me pictures of them, the wedding ceremony in the home, and, all the pictures of them raising their family, their children, in this home. They were finally at, close to, had to be about almost 70 years old. They were finally able to buy this property. Wow. And their reason was they wanted to be able to leave it to their children, right? So, no, it's no age. I met it. Unfortunately, it didn't happen for him. But I met another man in his 70s, and he said it was always his dream to buy a house. Mm-hmm. And, he had ended up getting sick and not able to, go through the process. But, I was more than willing to help him. To work with him. Because you have to live somewhere, right? You have to. So either you're going to pay rent somewhere, or you're going to pay a mortgage somewhere. Mm-hmm. And at that time, especially, a mortgage was much cheaper than renting. And that's the other thing I tell young people all the time. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to live somewhere in every stage of your life. Buy early. Pay the house off. Even if you own one house, pay the house off early. We need to get back to this people being stable again. This is my opinion, right? Instead of the average time frame in a house right now is 7 years. People move around too much, in my opinion. 7 years? That's interesting. 7 years is the average time that a person stays in their home. If people stop moving around and get there, I love to sell houses, and I would love to sell everyone their new house and their new house and their new house and their new house, right? But former generations, they stayed in their house 30, 40 years, right? You see the people, she's lived on the block for 45 years, right? So she's living in this house, and her house had been paid off. You have a 30-year mortgage, so if it's 45 years, 15 years ago, now all she has to do is worry about paying taxes, insurance, and maintenance as a senior, right? So that takes stress off of you. You're not having to worry about paying this huge mortgage when you're, now in your retirement ages, because you purchased your property, or you purchased the average age of a home buyer right now is about 42 years old. 42? Okay. 42. When our parents, before, they were purchasing houses in their 20s and 30s, so if you look at 30 years, if you buy a house at 40, 30 years from there, that's 70, your house will be paid off, finally. But, if you buy early enough, your house is paid off, and it just makes life a little easier for you. Well, let me ask you this now. We're talking about first-time buyers. What are some incentives out there to assist first-time buyers? Programs that are available to them? There's a ton of incentives. I'm pretty sure in other parts of the the country there are as well. But Philadelphia specifically, there's the Keys to Equity grant that a buyer can get, first-time home buyer can get. That's up to $15,000. And then you have the First Front Door grant That's up to $15,000. And you have the Philly First grant. That's about $15,000. Well, there's a lot of money, and some of these grants you can stack on top of each other. You can't do all three of these,
Hmm.
but you could do the keys to equity and the Philly First. Combine those two, and you can get up to $30,000 in grant money. I've had some other buyers that have purchased properties and stacked grants together up to maybe at $35,000.
Wow.
And deposit money. I was talking to a gentleman yesterday, and he actually inherited a property, and I had to tell him, you qualify as a first-time home buyer. Even though you inherited a property and that property is in your name, you qualify as a first-time home buyer. So let's take advantage of the incentives out there for you. Let's get you some of this grant money, because he wanted to buy another property. And, he was excited to hear that he could take advantage, of this grant money. So let's put the hold on the house you inherited for now, right? And pull the equity out and do it. You already have this house.
It's
Now
yours.
let's get you, that's yours. Let's get you another house, and let's let you be able to get some of this grant money. Because the moment you go and buy an investment property, you forfeit that first time home buyer grant money. So, let's just go straight to owner occupied, new home, use the other house as the investment property, and take advantage of the incentives that are out there for you.
Okay, let me ask you this question about Philadelphia area. Are there public servant incentives out there for home buyers, perhaps like police officers, first responders, and those some of the folks? And that's kind of a program that's prevalent, from what I understand, throughout the country. Is that working in Philadelphia as well?
Yes, you still have people. HUD has a program as well for first responders and police officers and teachers, and HUD has a program for them. But a lot of your employers, people don't realize that too. A lot of their employers offer first-time home buyer incentives, and a lot of people don't even realize it. So when I'm working with a buyer, let's say that they're working at a major corporation, I tell them, go to HR and ask them if they have any incentives for you to buy a property, right? So, I've had situations where, yes, they'll have like a matching grant, a matching savings program or something like that to help buyers.
Well, I mean, companies want their people to stay in the area where they've hired them. So those are great incentives. Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
let's shift gears a little bit. We're talking about the old versus the young, or how about this, the experienced versus the inexperienced home buyers. So now I've bought this house and I live in an area, okay? How prevalent are homeowners associations in Philadelphia? And do you think that they have too much power? What are your thoughts on that?
In the immediate Philadelphia area, there aren't a lot of HOAs. You have condo associations, but not so many HOAs, homeowner associations, just because of the way houses are in the Philadelphia area. HOAs typically come with newly developed homes. As far as whether or not, now there's a lot in the suburbs of Philadelphia though, but as far as whether or not they have too much power, sometimes I think they do.
Mm.
I've had buyers who, you know how when you're buying the property, you have that 15-day period to review the condo docs, and I've had buyers review those docs and they're like, what? I can't put out, you buy your first home, you want to put your Santa, I don't know, you want to decorate your lawn for Christmas.
Anything, right? Right.
You want to put your stuff out. And the HOA is like, no, you can have one this and one that, and it has to be the bright light, the color lights or whatever, like everything has to match, right? I have a dog and I want to put a fence up. Well, the fence can only be 3 foot high and it has to be this type of fence. And no, but I have I have a big dog. My dog will jump that fence. So now I
Mm-hmm.
can't buy in that HOA. So I do think that some of the rules can be a little extra.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, I was talking to someone the other day, and she was talking about how her she got a ticket, or a fine rather, from the HOA because when she was sick, she she didn't follow up with the guy who was supposed to do her lawn. Like they allowed them to hire whoever they want to hire,
Okay.
but she didn't follow up with the guy, so she got a ticket for her, the lawn overgrowing. And she was like, it was literally a week worth of growth, but they still gave her a ticket. So I don't know. You have to be okay with living under such control.
Mm-hmm.
But I do understand why they do it. I do. I completely understand why they have the rules that they have. If you around in Philadelphia, you'll see different styles of houses right next to each other, different colors, different, so, and you're looking like, this doesn't even match. You have an old traditional, like Victorian house right next to this modern square box of a
Mm-hmm.
house. Like, it doesn't look nice. But yeah.
The interesting thing is that I've always thought there's nothing better than a nosy neighbor, because they keep an eye on your stuff and everything is safe. Now, what I'm talking about is just trying to make sure that inappropriate line isn't crossed or approached, if you will. But Desseria, it's been great having you on the show today. You've been very informative. But come forward, let me ask you if you could share some advice on an inspire homeowner. Talk a little bit about your recommendations as far as just being in the real estate space, patience, leery of insurance companies or anything like that. What would you tell someone right now who is really looking to buy a home? And like you say, at any stage in their life, it doesn't really matter. But what are your thoughts to close out and tell people how to get in touch with you to get even more information from you?
Okay. If you are looking to buy a house, just be patient with the process and patient with yourself, right? You want to make sure that you're making the right decisions. You want to make sure that you're hiring the right real estate agent that's going to advocate for you, and not just someone looking to make money off the transaction. Like, literally ask around, vet your real estate agent. I like to say that all are equal, but unfortunately, just like anything else, you have bad doctors, you have good doctors, you have bad real estate agents, you have good real estate agents, right? So do your homework with regards to who you're going to hire. Do your homework with regards to the loan officer or the lending institution that you're going to get your loans with. Research the grants that are available to you, especially if you are a first-time home buyer. And even if you're not a first-time home buyer, there are some DPA, what we call down payment assistance programs, to help you as well. But this is why you need to make sure that you're working with the team of people that's going to properly guide you throughout the process, and make sure that you're getting all that's due to you, all that's offered to you, and all that will benefit you. Because everything may not make sense for you. You may get a grant, but the interest rate may be higher. So you may say, never mind, I don't want that grant.
Mm-hmm.
So, these are the conversations that you need to have, but take your time with it. Take your time, work on your credit. You don't have to have absolute perfect credit. As long as your credit is over 680, then you're usually in a position where you can get a good interest rate on your loan. But like I said, do your homework. Research the process of buying a home. Research the responsibilities after you buy the home. What are my responsibilities? Am I going to be able to maintain the home? Make sure that you're not buying a home that's going to have you house poor as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So don't overbuy. Okay, you still want to have some sort of a lifestyle for yourself. So this is why, again, if you are looking to buy a house, hire an agent that's going to bring you into their office and do a true consultation with you. to make sure that, everything is going to align for you throughout this entire process. So that's the advice I would give. Just take your time in the process. It's not a sprint. Make sure that you're truly prepared and you're paying attention to everything that's happening in the process.
Well, I love that. It's not a sprint.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you will get ready to share your contact information real quick, right?
Yes. So if anyone would like to get in contact with me, my name is Desarrie. They call me Real Estate Diva McDuffie. I'm 20 years in the business, and I can be reached at 267-784-2085. Again, 267-784-2085. Or you can go to my website, which is phillyrealestatediva.com, and I'm on social media platforms as well. So if you want to reach me, I'm available.
Outstanding. Well, Desiree, thank you. You touched on two things that I've heard a couple different times that are kind of catchphrases. One of them is that 680 credit score, and the other one is don't become house poor. So, but thank you so much for joining us on the RobCast podcast, and I'm going to talk to you real soon, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Right.
Thanks for having
You're welcome.
me.
Thank you. Well, this has been the RobCast podcast, where conversations are grounded in truth, and we're sharing great information that Desarrie McDuffie just shared with us. The thing that's interesting about real estate, as we alluded to before, it's location. And there's a number of other variables that are contributing to that right now. So do your homework, but more importantly, check out the RobCast podcast. We're here to make sure that you know what's going on. And we'll talk to you next time.
Have you been thinking about an innovative way to promote your brand and attract new customers? Well, welcome to Christiana Cross Media, where your imagination meets cutting-edge AI production. With AI-powered video, we can create stunning commercials, animated content, and even custom characters for your brand, whether for traditional media or social platforms. We even craft storyboards, design persuasive pitch decks, and sales presentations. Our AI-powered solutions cater to all your media needs. We take your brand or image into the future. Let me show you what's possible. Want a cinematic ad with a superhero flair? No problem. Perhaps an anime adventure that transports your audience to a whole new world? Art lover? Your brand could be a masterpiece in motion. Looking for something fun and quirky? Let's go Pixar style. Or dive into fantasy and fairy tales. Maybe a cartoon wonderland to showcase your product. How about claymation animation? Lights, camera, action, and show the world. With Christiana Cross Media, we don't just create ads, we build experiences that captivate audiences and make your brand unforgettable. From commercials to ongoing animated series, we can develop a unique AI-powered character and create weekly content that tells your story in a whole new way. Be the first in your industry. Contact Christiana Cross Media.
Thank you for watching the RobCast podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, and comment. Don't forget to turn on notifications for all new weekly episodes.
Yeah. Go. I wanna see you turn up, gon' make you flash for the cash if they ain't offering. Yeah, that's swag, secure that bag, I be gone in the flash. Can't make my presence last. That's that flow, and drop it real low. I don't wanna see some more. That's that swag, secure that bag, I be gone in the flash. Can't make my presence last. That's that flow, and drop it real low. I don't wanna see some more. I wanna see you grow. I wanna see you. I wanna see it turn up, gon' make me blast for the cash if they ain't offering enough. What you don't give won't leave me stuck, got me changing up on my way. She would target just cause you got it, we on you because it pays. Man, I need to keep calm for a second. Need to take a minute how they gon' hit me for my section. Ain't gotta break it down, I peed it all before I stepped in. Been pushing the ball, little bitch, you better get your ass in. Swag, secure that bag, I be gone in the flash. Can make my presence last, now that's that flow. Now drop it real low, I don't wanna see some more. I wanna see you grow, I wanna see you climb and jump off real high. Soar across the clouds, baby, I'm your tour guide. So follow my lead, and we gon' breathe easy. It's gon' be a breeze, yeah, you just might need that. And if I get it knocking, they flocking. I'm tryna run up the profit without me picking your pockets. Don't hit me up when we poppin'. That's on the deal, how I'm rockin'. I'm money stacking and stocking. I take the slow, but no stopping. I take the slow, but no stopping. Keep it real, one call from a deal. Remember hitting random just to show a nigga trill. Remember tryna flip grip on my nigga, popped out my pills. Remember they came to the hood and we chased them back up the hill.
Remember when it was cool just to kick it, nobody selling with tickets on point. I stay on my pivot, accumulate all the digits. My mama been getting sick, so you know I gotta go get it. Wanna take care of my people, little brother being a bitch. Illuminati, y'all in my DM telling me I'm about to be rich. Nothing but the worldly temptations that can grip on my fingertips. Rather get it up out the mud instead of being a puppet
now
bitch.
That's that swag, secure that bag, I be gone in the flash. Can't make my presence last, now that's that flow. Now drop it real low, I don't wanna see some more. I wanna see you grow, I wanna see you climb and jump off real high. Soar across the clouds, baby, I'm your tour guide. So follow my lead, and we gon' breathe easy. It's gon' be a breeze, yeah, you just might need that. You just might need a little something. Gotta love how this shit coming. And get the cause it's bumping like you can avoid touching. Ain't looking out for nothing, me to hit the ground running. You can jump on my jump on my jump on my jump. Just might need a little something. Gotta love how this shit coming. And get the cause it's bumping like you can avoid touching. Ain't looking out for nothing, me to hit the ground running. You can jump on my jump on my jump on my jump on my.